the word marketing and the word marketing, or the phrase marketing platforms, is such a generic word and generic phrase that a lot of people probably don't even know what you're talking about when you refer to that. If you are a small business owner, a retail business owner, your business and how you acquire customers can be so different than somebody who has an e-commerce platform such as Amazon or something similar to that. Customers will purchase and they will acquire customers very differently than your small retail family business. We, as retail owners, have to rely on foot traffic into our stores, which is a total different customer than somebody buying something online. So the question we are talking about today is, which marketing platform will provide our business with the most foot traffic at the least amount of money? What's the best bang for your buck when it comes to marketing? And marketing platforms can be anything like Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, billboards, commercials, advertising on platforms like Hulu, advertising like things on iHeartRadio or podcasts or whatever it might be. What provides the best foot traffic, in my opinion and my co-host's opinion? Hello and welcome to the Better Business Podcast, where we help you improve your family-owned retail business. I'm with my co-host today, Chris Fox from Fox Strategy, the marketing genius. And my name is Steve Cook. I'm a third-generation business owner, and with the things I've learned and talk about on this show, I've taken my family's retail business to over $10 million in sales. Now let's get to the show. Listen, there's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Google Ads, billboards, TV commercials, flyers, word-of-mouth marketing, programs, blimps, if those are still around, banner ads, Hulu, iHeartRadio ads, podcast ads, arena sponsorships. There are so many different ways to advertise your business, and everyone has an opinion on it. Now, here is the question. Everyone has an opinion of traffic and all of these different things, but which ones have the highest quality traffic and which ones have the highest quality foot traffic into your physical retail stores? Digital marketers might have one opinion. Online e-commerce shops might have a different opinion. But which ones are going to provide the foot traffic that you need into your retail stores? So which platforms are going to provide the best use, the best bang for your buck, is the topic today. Chris Fox from Fox Strategy, you obviously have a strategy. What's your opinion on this introduction?
Oh man, what a great question. There's so many ways you can sink money into advertising these days, and if you don't ask the question... Are
blimps still around though? That's the main question.
Oh, I'm sure they are. Right? Like, isn't the Goodyear blimp at the Super Bowl a thing? I don't know that.
I hope so.
I don't know that they offer advertising, on the side of it, but and I'll add to that. Maybe blimps has become. I just read this article this morning. Blimps have become, the modern version of that is wrapping someone's car, and you can, as a business, design a car wrap and pay someone to wrap their car and drive around their town as an advertisement. So yeah, tons of ways you can sink money into advertisement. I think the question as a whole, what's the best bang for our buck? In business speak, we call that what's the biggest ROI, or return on investment, in an ad strategy. That's a really crucial question, because there are tons of ways you can advertise, and A, you shouldn't do all of them, and B, one to the next are going to give you, different kinds of traffic, different quality of traffic. And as you're talking, even the different types of traffic, like physical foot traffic in a store versus digital traffic to your website. So gosh, it's a good topic for us to tackle today.
Sweet. So, I think the best place to start in marketing, and obviously I'm getting into your line of expertise, so you correct me at any point if you need to. Slap my hand, so to speak.
Sure.
But I think that Marketing Basics 101. First, you have to know your audience. Who are we selling to? What demographic are they? What region of the metro are they? What interests do they have? What income level do they have? First, we have to identify in any business, if you're going to be selling to someone, you need to know who you are selling to. Who is your target audience? And I don't know how to do this besides running through a few different examples. Obviously, our business well with the feed stores in the Oklahoma City metro. In a feed store, it surprises a lot of people, but the number one horse owner is a female between the age of 40 to 60 years old. And if they have a horse, they also typically have a income over, $70,000 or greater, because they have expendable income to feed 1,000-pound animal. So they usually have at least a little bit of extra money laying around. So that kind of is the basis of our demographic of who we are serving to, and who we would like to advertise towards. Now, that doesn't mean that a 25-year-old male with a low income doesn't have a horse. Obviously, that happens, but by the majority of the time, that is who we are trying to sell to. So, what do you think about that? Do you think that that's the best place that anyone should start, is to identify their target audience?
I agree. 100%. That's the place you must start if you are starting a business, or let's also add in, if you are getting serious about being strategic in your business and you're tired of wasting money, or you're ready to grow and scale, you absolutely have to know who you're selling to. And as you've said, the stuff you covered is some basic demographics, some socioeconomic information, but who you sell to goes as deep and as wide as you want it. You can start asking questions about frame of mind, of certain customer personas. What time of year are they more willing to spend money versus others? All of that can shape who your customer persona, or some people call it a customer archetype, as you build this description of this person in your marketing plan, you might have tons of information about them. And I think that when the biggest piece of advice I can give to people about customer personas is, firstly, you have to pick something. You cannot sell to everyone. If you sell to everyone, and then getting to our topic today, if you advertise to everyone, you will go bankrupt and your business will fail.
It appeals to no one.
That's exactly for all those reasons. It appeals to no one. It's ridiculously expensive. It's not effective. But at the end of the day, you're going to go bankrupt and you will be out of business because you have refused to kind of focus. Again, business term is to niche or niche. And a lot of people are scared of that because it's hard work. It's difficult sometimes to say no. You think you're saying no to one crowd so that you can say yes to another. So I think first you have to really focus, and you can't sell to everyone. You shouldn't advertise to everyone. But then the second thing about these customer personas, these ideas of who you're selling to, write it down. Because if you think through this today and you go to, build your blimp advertising campaign, right? Because you found that your ideal customer hangs out where blimps fly, and a blimp wants to give you an ad for so many dollars versus impressions.
Is anyone doing a banner on the back of a drone?
Oh, well, so when I was in California last, I did see some planes flying with banners tied behind them. So drone or plane.
But what about a drone? Because you could just fly that around like the beach or something like that.
There
if you're in
a
place
local
where a lot
festival,
of people hang out.
like the art festival here in Oklahoma City, tons of people around. Yeah. Fly that drone with the banner.
Know. Anyways, go on. Sorry.
Well, no,
Sorry
it's just when you do that today and the next year when we go back to do it, and maybe even the bigger point is 5 years, 10 years when we go back to do it, the question should be, are we still selling to the same person? And if we haven't written down that persona, if we haven't really done that know your audience exercise and recorded it so that we can review it, we then are back to step one. Why are we doing this work over and over and over again every time we sit down to spend some money on advertising? But the more dangerous piece is that we actually drift away from our ideal customer, or we follow a trend. And again, that's just wasting money. I will say this as a caveat. Know that every single business or entity that you pay advertising dollars to, They are not in the business of making your business succeed. They are in the business of taking your money in exchange for advertising. So they don't care if you haven't done this know your audience work. They don't care if you only select two, differentiators or two demographic filters. They just want you to spend your ad budget. You are up to, as a business owner, it's up to you to make sure that you're doing so effectively. So, man, Steve, no better advice when it comes to advertising. Before anything else, know who you're selling to.
So let me ask you this. Hypothetically speaking, what if someone has the ability to sell to everyone? So I'm thinking of a person with a convenience store, or maybe a grocery store,
Sure,
or a boutique that sells men's and women clothes and children's clothes, and a lot of places, restaurants.
Yeah.
There's a lot of retail stores that sell to everyone. Or I think about a lot of pet stores. I think it's like it's like 72% or something like that of people have pets. So that's an incredible, amount.
Yeah.
At that point, in my mind, I'm thinking of, it's hyper location based advertising is what you would have to rely on. Is that your inclination, or do you have a different take on that?
And I would say that you're right. If your geography matters to your ideal client, your ideal customer persona, then that belongs in their profile. So if you're going to take your company, for example, really centered around the geography of central Oklahoma, so you don't spend money advertising in Missouri or in Texas or in New York. So that's an important piece of it. Where are your ideal customer personas hanging out? That's an important question. Not only for the geography physically, but the placement digitally too. Because if your ideal customer persona is hanging out on Facebook instead of TikTok, that's a choice you have to make. If your ideal customer persona visits, other pet-related blogs instead of going to CNN all the time, that's a choice you have to make. But more to your question, if you're thinking, hey, I'm a retail business, and we use grocery store as an example a lot. If you're a grocery store, if you're a convenience store, if you're a pet store, and you're thinking, I sell to a lot of people because everybody needs groceries. The vast majority of people have pets. Let me push you one more time to go one level deeper than that. If everyone needs groceries, that may be true, but who do you really want walking through the door of your grocery store?
Who spends the most?
Who
buys the highest quality?
That's the next level.
Whatever.
That's right. Because if you are a grocery store that wants a lot of wealthy or affluent people coming in, because maybe you're a Whole Foods type of grocery store, then you are going to spend, or should spend, $0 advertising to anybody who would rather shop at a discount grocery store because of their economic level, or maybe even just their interest in your products. So even if you
which customer do you smile at when they walk through the door?
That's right.
Try to find some similarities between that. It might be an old person, it might be a middle-aged lady in her 40s, it might be a 20-year-old guy, but what do all three of those have in common? While they have a different status of income, or they live next door, or they whatever it might be. So
and
I think that's great advice.
Totally different, right? Let's say you own an insurance agency, and you're an independent insurance agency. Your family's owned it for 3 generations. Everybody needs insurance, life, auto, home, you got it all. But listen, you don't want to market to everyone. And even more expensively, you don't want to advertise to everyone. There are going to be clients who, when they call you, you get excited, or you get joy from talking to them. And there are going to be clients when they call, you get a pit in your stomach and you're really hesitant to pick up the phone. That's a really great first step to setting up a customer persona, because you don't want to duplicate more of those clients that give you a pit in your stomach when they call. So what about the clients that bring you joy and you are happy to work with? What about them is similar that you can put into a persona and then build a marketing and advertising strategy out of that ideal client? So even when you're trying to sell to everybody, you need to pick still this smaller group of people to target.
The follow-up question to that, of course, is which is the platform that is the cheapest? So what I'm thinking of on that is which one can I advertise for or spend the least amount of money to get the most eyeballs? So this question is obviously more toward somebody that sells to a lot of different people, and they don't necessarily care. Maybe a casino, it's anybody over 18 that can go there, or a restaurant or a convenience store like we just talked about, and they are less concerned about very specific. Obviously in our business we want to target very certain interests and things like that. But as far as just what is the cheapest ad spend for eyeball exchange, so even if you say that social media platforms are quote unquote free, there's still a certain amount of hours that you exchange for creating on those platforms. So even free platforms do have a cost associated with that. And how much is that cost associated? So, I'm thinking TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of those platforms, they are quote unquote free, or they do have a free portion to them. However, you do have to spend time keeping up with trends. You do have to spend time creating for them, whether it's video or pictures or writing posts or whatever. Now, think about all of the other things that we mentioned. Google. Google has a very free portion to its company. There is local Google things that you can fill out around shopping and things like that that you can organically rank for on Google. However, that takes time. TV commercials, obviously you have to pay for them, but is there so many eyeballs on that it negates the fee that you have to pay to be on it? Billboards, just very similar to that. So anyways, all of these different marketing channels have a free aspect to them. A lot of them have a free aspect to them, but what are they? What are the exchange values in these free platforms or paid platforms in exchange for the eyeballs? What's the best value that you see at this time, Christopher?
That's a great big question. But it's such an important question for business owners to really sit and go through. I think the first thing that I would say is every business owner needs to understand the difference between marketing and advertising. Advertising, and people may disagree with me on this definition, that's fine. Advertising would be, the way we view it, is anywhere we're going to spend money in exchange for eyeballs, in exchange for attention and eyes on our collateral. That collateral is marketing. Yes, paid ads. So many platforms, almost everything that we've mentioned so far, has both a paid element and has an organic element or a free element. And the difference between marketing and advertising is marketing is what you do to educate people and raise awareness about your brand, your business, and how you make their lives better. Advertising is what you do when you pay to put that marketing message in front of people without any organic discovery going on. So if we create as an agency or a firm for you in your business, if we create for you a series of social media posts and maybe a landing page and an email campaign, we've created that marketing collateral. Then the question is, are we going to let that kind of drip out or get out into the community in an organic way, just where people share it with people, we put it in our stores, we add it to our website, we post it on our free social media? Or are we going to pay to push that content out in front of people in an attempt to buy attention from these platforms? So that's a big first question, because a lot of people maybe skip to advertising, but they've never once considered marketing, as in what's going to happen when somebody actually clicks on this link, and what are we going to say to them if I get foot traffic, which is our topic today, coming into my store. Are they coming in with maybe a an understanding of what we offer because we've spent time on our marketing messaging and on our marketing strategy? Or are they coming in because we advertise that we have buy one, get one free, such and such product, and they don't really know or care who we are. And now we've got to do all of that education and awareness building inside our store. Neither of those is wrong. You just have to have a reason for why you're doing it. And so I think that's a big first question when we're talking about what's cheaper. Because technically, if you build this marketing collateral and you have a sales funnel, you have a journey for your customer to go on, you could invest in that, but then never pay for any advertising and build all of that organically. So you have an audience, you have people who know who you are and they're visiting your store, and you love it because they're exactly who you want to reach out to. Or you could maybe do that all DIY and not invest in that, but then push your dollars toward an ad budget that puts that out in front of people. So the question of what's cheapest is really a question of, much like you've said, Steve, do we have money or time to invest? Maybe we have a little of both. Maybe we don't have either. We have to figure out what we're going to invest and then ask ourselves, where are these people hanging out? The people we know who we want to sell to. We've got our personas written down. Where are they hanging out? And where can we reach out to them in a way that is genuine and doesn't beat them over the head? I think that is a big factor in whether or not an ad is cheap for the number of eyeballs you get on that ad. And so going back to your drone with a banner, right? That may cost a very little amount of money. And if we craft a really good message that goes on that banner that gets people to act, we've found ourselves a very cheap advertising channel for the number of people who see our message. But if we take that, same drone and banner and we put a message on it that's vague and nobody really knows what it means, and we put it up there, no matter if we spent $200 on it or $500 on it, that $500 got us 0 eyes on our website or 0 feet in our store. So by comparison, that was the most expensive ad campaign we may have run all year because it did nothing for us. So I always push people back to, what's the actual journey you're asking your ideal client, your ideal customer to go on? And how have you met them with some kind of marketing message and collateral every step of the way? Because that really is that's like the water slide into your business. It's slick, it's fast, people learn, they understand, they feel that you care about them, and they're there to do business with you. If you don't do any of that work and you just throw up an ad and you pay for it on Facebook or Google or on your drone and a banner, but you've not done any of that work to actually make that water slide fun and move, then now you're asking people to sit on a dry water slide. And I don't know if you've ever done that, but that sucks.
Not fun, little squeaky. So I think if somebody held my feet to the fire and said, you have only time to spend, or you can, obviously time is also could be you pay someone to create for you. I think that there's 3 opportunities right now in, whatever, April of 2022. And that is, I would say, one of the most underutilized right now, and it's shocking and surprising, but if you have a very specific market, such as the insurance company that we talked about, or something where you are very specific and you need an organic reach, I think one of the best marketing right now is for in-person marketing. That means cold calling to someone's house. That means, being at events and things like that. I think that is extremely underutilized. A lot of people go straight to digital, some sort of digital communication or something like that. I haven't lived in a neighborhood in a while, so this might not be necessarily true. But as far as I know of, I'm not home a lot during the day and things like that, but I haven't even had a door-to-door salesman, I don't think, I think I've lived at our house 8 years or something like that, and we've never had one that I know of off the top of my head, maybe 1 or 2. So I think that is an incredible thing that still holds a lot of value, is one-on-one sales, especially if you have a high-ticket item. Mm-hmm. I think that is, you can build a relationship with people. A lot of people would probably take well to that, as long as they're not getting hassled by a lot of people. The second thing I think is Google, the organic portion of Google, and that is making sure your business has a Google page, making sure that if you sell an actual item, that you have the Google Merchant Shopping Center plug in all of that into your website, and making sure that when someone is looking for a product that you sell, it comes up organically on Google. A lot of people will say, Nike shoes near me or something near me, and Google will only rank places that are near you. Well, if you're only 3 or 4 or 5 places, even the top 20 places that have that, you're going to be on the first page for that product, for a retail store. Coffee shops near me, boutiques near me, different things like that. And that's as easy as, setting up a Google page takes, 1 or 2 hours. And I think that is a huge traffic, getting reviews on Google and things like that, really can play out for people, free, organic traffic. The last thing I think is TikTok. And, I've been hot on TikTok lately, but dude, I just looked at our analytics. The last 50 days, we've gotten almost 1 million video views.
Yeah.
In the last 50 days. It's completely bonkers. I've never had anything like this. I was not early to anything because I've been in my 20s, or whatever. When a lot of these things came out, I was already in my 20s and I wasn't really thinking about business. So when Facebook came out, I was still in high school, college, and so I wasn't wanting to do it as a business context. Of course, I was trying to get dates with Facebook. So, but Facebook, Instagram, I wasn't on any of those early. But TikTok, I feel like it is still very early. There is a lot of demand. There's a lot of people watching the platform, but there's not a lot of people creating videos right now. Mm-hmm. And I think that if you make videos that are, like you said, either educational or whatever it might be for your business, where you are trying to help people in a certain way that revolves around your business, whether it's entertainment, whether it's education, whether it's information, whatever. Yep. I think that right now is a very special time for TikTok, for free traffic. And obviously they have a paid portion to it as well, and I haven't tinkered with that quite yet. But so those are my favorite threes: in person, Google, and TikTok right now.
Yeah, I think that those are, you're right, underutilized marketing channels right now. And I would just add to that, really what you have to think about as a business owner when you're headed in that direction. Let's say you're going to do one-on-one sales, you want to do cold calls. If you have tried that and you are someone who would say, yeah, that doesn't work, I've tried it. My question to you, my pushback would be, did you write down your customer persona, and did you build a marketing message that quickly explained to that person how you solve the problem and make their life better with your unique solution? Those kind of marketing channels are underutilized simply because people don't know what to say. And mm-hmm. TikTok would be the same thing. People are like, why do I need to be on TikTok?
Let's not underplay, somebody might not have the skills either.
Oh,
direct
true.
Sales, what I talked about, direct sales, in-person sales, there's some people that would just crumble like a cheap chair, in an in-person cold call. There's also some people that cannot figure out Google. There's also some people that cannot create short, informational, funny videos like TikTok would demand.
Right.
So I think it also depends on your skill set too, and who your customer is and things like that, of course. But
sure.
I think it depends on your skill set a lot.
You can find what you're comfortable with. Absolutely. Again, just because someone else is getting a lot of success on TikTok doesn't necessarily mean you need to be there. It just means that it's an underutilized marketing channel. So your question then becomes, can I do it? And then what am I going to say to my people that makes sense to them? And because if you're a grocery store, you may not need to show up on TikTok doing a bunch of dance videos. Maybe you do one in a while, but most of what you do is a different strategy. You've simply got to do the discovery work to find out what your audience is willing to watch, or what they enjoy watching, what they enjoy getting from you. And I think that's really marketing across the board. What does your audience enjoy getting from you? I would add to one of those still underutilized platforms, I would add email. Tons of people believe that email is no longer useful as a marketing tool, and because they themselves unsubscribe from every list or have a fake email address that I give everyone. That's great, fine. I've heard that. Yes, people do that. Does everybody do that? Not by any stretch of the imagination. Most people in the world get email, read their email, and if nothing else, see you're emailing them, see your subject line and your business name. And so I would say it's still an underutilized marketing channel. And compare it to, for whatever reason, again, with all the whole social networks, people want to be on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn. Still, compared apples to apples on engagement, email still gets higher engagement out of an audience that you've grown on an email list than your Instagram audience right now. So if you're, for whatever reason, feeling like you've got this huge weight on your shoulders to produce Instagram content, you might need to actually look and say, would it be better for me to build an email list and write a weekly email to my people, delivering value, showing up, being funny, being educational, whatever it is, instead of feeling this constant weight to do Instagram content, because technically you can get a better return on your engagement, your time spent through email right now, all things being equal. So yeah, I would add email to that list of underutilized. And then SMS, but it's still growing, but text message marketing is blowing up. You just got to do it a little differently.
Yeah. And I think it depends on the relationship too.
Totally.
TikTok is incredibly, whatever you would call that, frivolous or very passive, very passive. Casual relationship. Like, I don't know if I've seen this guy's videos or not, and they've liked your page for 6 months or something, and then, I think about email and text messages are a lot more intimate. Podcast is incredibly intimate. If you listen to someone for 30, 45 minutes, or an in-person sale, in-person cold calling, that is incredibly intimate when you compare it to a TikTok, 30-second video. So I think it just depends on where you're at. And I think you need to scratch all the itches of the marketing channel too. I think if you have no top of the line funnel that, like a TikTok or something like that brings them to your website, and then you have no email that brings them into you a little bit better, and then you don't have so I think it all matters of what your end goals are and where you need to go with people. You might have a huge following, but no one's buying your stuff. Well, maybe you don't have a very good email campaign or something like that. The last part that I wanted to touch on with this is so we understand that you need to identify your customer. That was the first thing. The second thing is which platforms provide the cheapest organic reach. So if you create for a free platform, those are the ones we just talked about. Now, like we addressed in the first part of this, there are a certain amount of platforms, almost all platforms, that provide a certain amount of free ad spend. So getting on the news is free organic traffic. Paying for a TV commercial is a paid portion of that. TikTok, you can have a TikTok page for free and create videos. That is for free. You can also pay to show up in people's feeds. Facebook is just the same. Instagram is the same. Google Ads is the same. You can come up organically into the Google search. You can also pay to show up at the top of a Google search. So from your perspective, what is the way to advertise? And I think this, for me, makes more sense for someone that needs to get more specific. And by saying that, I almost want to include everybody. Unless you're Coca-Cola, unless you're Chevy or Ford, but even they have target
Totally.
Probably their best target demographics. But I think everyone needs to get more specific with their audience. So which platform, in your opinion, has the best paid specific paid portion to it?
This is one of those things that's changing a lot right now. Maybe if anyone listening has been looking at advertising or following it for very long, that the industry's shifted really significantly in the last few months, with Apple introducing their new privacy protections inside their iOS phone operating system, where a lot of people are doing their internet browsing these days. So now there are new privacy restrictions, and that took a big chunk out of Facebook's ability to target, or now Meta's ability to target on their ad platform. So in a lot of those ad platforms, you see the targeting ability rolling back, getting a lot more basic, where you used to be able to target people by their income or by when they last bought a car or last bought a house or intended on buying a house. You're getting a lot more generic in those targeting platforms these days. So I'm gonna maybe throw a ball out here to left field, Steve. I apologize, but when you ask me what's the best price or what's the best platform for targeting a specific customer base, I would actually argue that where we're headed, because now we've heard that Google and Android are going to follow Apple in their privacy protections, where we're headed, the best thing that you can do to target customers on an advertising platform is actually to get your messaging locked in with who that person is. And let me give you an example. So Steve, in Cook Feed's marketing strategy, when we're targeting people in an advertising platform, we're a feed store, but we don't want to be known as being a feed store that sells dog food and gerbil food and guinea pig food and all that. Even though you do carry that, all we talk about on the ad platform is horse feed, for a very specific reason, because we don't want to water down our advertising message. The reason you sell dog food and alternate type of animal feed is because your research and statistics show you that, over 80% of horse owners own a second pet, and it's usually a dog.
90.
Right? 90.
Yeah.
So you took that data, and instead of selling to everybody by saying, hey, Cook Feed and Outdoor, we sell pet food, that's not what we want to be known for. We actually cut off or niched down part of our marketing message to let people know we focus on horse feed. Then when a horse owner arrives at the store and you get that foot traffic from your ad, they are pleasantly surprised that you sell dog food in a few brands that matter to them. So they pick up both and go to your counter, and you've upgraded your sell. If you said in that ad platform, we sell horse feed and dog food and guinea pig food, you're going to have a guinea pig owner arrive to that store, and it's nothing like Chewy.com or PetSmart. Now they're upset. And so you've actually spent money to piss somebody off. So I think the best way to target with an ad platform, any ad platform, is to get really hyper clear about your messaging and resist every urge to try to sell to everybody in that ad, and pick your ideal client and use words that actually disqualify most of the people you don't want to do business with, and really get that person who you want to do business with hooked.
Man, I think you hit the nail on the head with that. But the one thing that you left out was the geographical aspect to a retail store. And I think that is always heavy on my mind, that even if you find the right person, even if you find all the right things, but we are talking to retail store owners, and you reach somebody in North Carolina and you're in California, that does nothing for you. And I think that there is a few. We've never dabbled with TV commercials, but I have heard that there's a lot of local news places that have a location-based, commercial to some extent.
Sure.
I think it's mostly statewide though, and again, I don't think unless you have like a huge furniture store or something like that, I don't think you're looking for people across the whole state. Most people are going to be looking for a 5 to 40 mile radius around their actual location. And honestly, I don't dabble in a lot of other places besides Google and Facebook, but I think Facebook is king with this location-based traffic source. Even though the new iOS updates and things like that took away the ability to follow people onto a different website and to track them across different apps, I still think that most people have where they live in their Facebook profile, and Facebook knows where people live. and where they're from. They also know typically what their interests are based on the Facebook pages that they follow and based on what a lot of people put in their profiles. I remember in 2000, whatever, 10, 11, 12, or whatever, when I created my Facebook profile, it was like, oh, what are my hobbies? What are my interests?
Yeah.
And people had no idea that Facebook was asking you that so they could retarget you on stuff, or sell to businesses to retarget you, I guess. But I think that interests are still there in Facebook, and I think that location is still there in Facebook. And there is no, billboards, obviously it has a geography aspect to it because somebody's driving by, but they have no idea what interests you have. TV commercials have no idea what interests you have, even though they have a geography. TikTok might know what interests you have, but they don't know where you're from. I think you go on through the deal. Google and Facebook are the only two things that I can think of off the top of my head that they know what you're interested in and they know where you're from. And that is huge, important when you talk about knowing who your customer is and you need them to come into a retail store. For e-commerce and things like that, it's totally different. You can ship across the nation. If you're selling a cheap item that you can ship all across the world, the conversation is totally different. I'm not saying these are the only two, but for a retail store that needs a specific type of audience, I can't think of anything that's as good as them.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
That's awesome. I would agree with that. I think that you're right. Getting the geography in there is helpful. I'll say this. I think if your entire ad spend strategy comes down to hoping that people have their interests up to date on Facebook, you probably need to do some more research into your customer and where they're hanging out. But I agree with you. I think that those are helpful things. I just think that the way you write your ad, the way you design the graphic or you record the video or what you say in the video in your ad can be just as, if not more powerful to qualify somebody as your ideal customer and disqualify somebody you don't want to do business with than just the back end settings on Facebook. And so that's to say, use both. That's a tool they have available to you. So make sure that you check those interests, you set up the right geographic boundary. But then when you're in your video, don't just assume that Facebook's back end is doing all the right work for you. Again, Facebook doesn't care if your business succeeds or fails. They got your money, so they thought, well, let's give them some boxes to check and make them feel good. Don't just rest on that. Make sure that the content, that's the words you write in the caption, the words you say in a video, the things you put in a graphic or a photo, make sure that those things help your ideal customer persona understand that they should be doing business with you. You can solve their problem. You can make their life better.
Yeah, and I think if you do the organic ads first, if you try to do the organic traffic first, you typically understand how to get people's attention a little bit better. I figured out a long time ago on Facebook, when you put attention, a town or something like that in all caps, it typically works better if you target it to that specific town. Things like that, saying who it's for at the beginning, attention horse owners, attention moms, or whatever, if you say that in the video or something. I found that, if you get good at this organic traffic, that you typically will figure out how to have a better ad spend as well, and understand that portion of it. So thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. A little long-winded today. We had a lot of pent-up energy on this topic. So thank you for listening. I hope that this helps your retail family-owned business succeed even more than it already is. Thank you for listening.